Evening.
Okay.
I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Warrenville Public Library District. It's Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, and it's 7:05 p.m. We'll start with the roll call. Trustee Pika.
Present.
Trustee Schmidt.
Present.
Trustee Richardson. Trustee Stahl.
Here.
Trustee DeRocher is here. Executive Director Stolman is also here, and so our department heads and okay. Let's go on to approving the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? We're going to take off the closed session.
Correct.
Anything else? No. All right. Could I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the agenda. I'll second.
Motion was made by Trustee Stahl and seconded by Trustee Schmidt. Trustee Pika.
Aye. I think you can.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. All right. You have any presentations?
Not today.
Any public comments? No correspondence? All right, moving along to the consent agenda. Secretary Stahl.
Item A, approve minutes of the September 20th, 2023 budget and appropriation hearing. B, approve minutes of the September 20th, 2023 regular board meeting. C, receive and file financial report for September.
All right, may I have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read by the secretary. Second.
Motion was made by Trustee Pika and seconded by Trustee Richardson. Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
And Trustee DeRocher votes aye. Moving on to the regular agenda, if I could have a motion for 8A.
I move we pay invoices in the amount of $52,580.90 for the period of September 21st, 2023 through October 18th, 2023, including electronic payments and checks number 9601 through 9650 with check number 9621 is voided.
Second.
Motion was made by Trustee Stahl, seconded by Trustee Pika. Is there any further discussion? All right, Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee DeRocher votes aye. All right, 8B, if I could have a motion.
I
please.
move that we transfer $150,000 from the commercial checking account to the operating checking account.
Second. Trustee, motion was made by Trustee Pika and seconded by Trustee Richardson. Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee DeRocher votes aye. There's no unfinished business, so we're moving on to new business, page 18. Reviewing the truth and taxation public notice. Does anybody have any?
I move to approve the truth and taxation public notice and set the public hearing for Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
I second.
Motion was made by Trustee Pika and seconded by Trustee Stahl. Is there any further discussion? Anything you want to say about it?
No, it's pretty much similar to
Boilerplate.
last year's. I boilerplate, I copied and pasted and input the new numbers. And
All right.
Off we go.
off we go. So,
This is a voice vote, yeah? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 10B, approved closing of the library. Should have a motion.
I move to approve the closing of the library on March 8th, 2024 for a staff in service day.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right, motion was made by Trustee Pika and seconded by Trustee Schmidt. Any further discussion? Say anything?
we haven't had one since November 2022, so
Yeah.
we talked about it as a management team, and we've got plenty of things to do that day. So
Okay.
it'll be a
What
pleasure.
day of the week is it?
a Friday.
Okay.
That seemed to be, in my mind, the best day to minimize the impact, since Fridays are usually a little slower and we're not open till 9 o'clock, so we're closing for a few hours.
Nobody has to do homework for the next day.
Exactly.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to the director's report on page 20.
All right.
Follow-up.
Lots of things. So yeah, so after Paul's great presentation last month, you all had a couple of questions, such as how many people were checking out library material. So we have 2,609 unique users that checked out at least one item in 2023. Excuse me. So that's about 24% of all our active cardholders. So, and that's checking out anything. So not just ebooks, but it's books, ebooks, hotspot, what have you. So 8% are using Overdrive and Libby, and 7% of our users are using ebook. So there are ebook or e-material users.
So that's like a third.
They're a smaller percentage, but they're bigger than I was expecting. So
Yeah, that's a third of our active users.
so and then what was the bubble ratio? Budget ratio of physical material to the e-com times. So there you see we've got total materials budget, which includes, you know, books and AV magazines and databases and e-media, just over $20,000. So all the e-media specifically accounts for 27% of that, and books and AV account for 51%. So, and then just generally as cost saving scenarios, talked to Paul a little and just thought maybe we'd write it out to the end of the calendar year to see how our spending is doing, but potentially a couple different ways we could save money, and the impacts are, I think as Paul talked about last month, we have a cap at, I believe, $3.99 currently per item. So if we reduce that cap to $2.99 per item, then it looks like that would save us potentially $5,400 for a whole year, which is a fair amount.
Can you just tell us again, is there a big number of items that are over $2.99?
967.
There's a decent amount of publishers that are over official, still under $3.99. Exactly how many items we come up with, if you search.
That's all right.
I mean, it's
something
it's partially
we
guesswork.
back as well. It's not or for the change. We can the selection is that we would all get to later. Then back and see what other scenarios.
All right, so you want to do this through the calendar year, not the fiscal year?
Well, I think I would just wanted to finish out the calendar year to see how our first half of the fiscal year spending went, and whether we're on track for what we budgeted or whether we look like we're going to overspend. Regardless, I mean, if we're just thinking in general, we have budgeted a lot for Hoopla and we want to reduce it, we could still do these things anyway. So I don't want to make people unhappy with the service, but I don't think we will. But I think lowering that cap to $2.99 and potentially maybe, even though it's not as much savings, even if we reduce the checkouts from 10 to maybe say 7, I think those two combos might help us spend less, and then therefore maybe next year budget a little less for Hoopla as well. So, and I feel like neither of those are a super huge impact on it. So 7 checkouts is still quite a number of checkouts.
Just curious, is there any way to maybe not look necessarily like, you know, outline exactly what's in the between $2.99 and $3.99, but like, is it say I don't know whether to say bestsellers or like, is it, say, People Magazine versus like Us Weekly, like it's, you know, like I guess what would be a more premium,
I mean, it's probably hard to say because they have so much content.
right?
It depends on the publisher. The one that sticks out in my mind, because I personally read a lot of comics, Paul mentioned that DC Comics, a lot of that, their options would get disappeared with that cap.
Okay.
But I'm sure it depends on the publisher and it also depends on the author. Maybe, you know, if you're a big author, your book might be cost a little bit more, but if you're, you know, a lower tier author, it's probably under the 299 cap. So it's probably too hard to
Right.
really give you a list.
I mean, I guess
Because
it's
so much.
again, the variety, or it's all of a sudden like, wow, there's nothing that I'm interested in at this
Right.
level. And I mean, because I know it's invisible to members because they don't have to pay for it. And I know we have to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least the nice thing is the only thing I can think of is if somebody previously had noted something that they wanted to read or check out, and then all of a sudden it disappears. I can see that upsetting somebody, but otherwise it will disappear from the catalog. It will disappear when you're browsing Hoopla. It just won't be there for you to look at and wish you could check it out. It won't be there anymore. So in terms of that, it's not like you'll know what you're missing.
Right, exactly.
So
I do think it's important, though, that before we do the next budget, we implement
Right.
something to see what the reaction of our members is, if any.
and I think these two measures are obviously a much better choice than what we tried back in March of the monthly cap. At the time, we didn't quite realize how that was gonna play out, and it didn't play out quite the way we thought it did, and it wasn't fun for anybody, so.
What we also might want to keep in mind is if a third of our users are using Overdrive or, you know, Libby or Hoopla, then maybe a third of our total materials budget should be dedicated to those digital services. Just something to think about.
Well, but that third of people who are using Coupa or whatever are probably in addition checking out books and maybe checking out other things as well. That's not their.
True.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing they're doing. But they are using, that many people are using it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of titles in 8 months.
Well, it's almost like, just from my own personal perspective, it's almost impossible not to be a hybrid user. To be strictly electronic means that you just don't get stuff. I mean, you just have to wait and wait and wait.
I think there might be people who just use it from their homes. But I think it might be more. But I can try to find that out. The biggest thing there is that you would, where it's a count as a circulation through Swan, the person would have to search Swan, check it out through the link, versus just going to itself, checking it out. So the information that
I don't think it's a good job.
100% accurate.
Okay.
It makes sense, but it might give us an idea.
Okay.
So,
Sure. All right. Anybody have anything else they want to say about it?
We'll keeping an eye on it, obviously. So we'll let you know what we do.
All right, you want to talk about your?
Sure. So I think we're going to have an unexpected expense. So back in the day, clearly long before I got here, but we had the warehouse or factory next door and then empty lots. So 20 years ago, presumably we had our air conditioning units outside when we expanded the building back in 2003. The code doesn't dictate if it's not facing residential area, that didn't need to be shielded. But now that we, whatever, 3 or 4 years ago, have brand new neighbors that are residential, apparently there is code saying that we need to have our equipment, outdoor equipment, shielded. So we are currently, I guess, in violation of that. But
And there is no grandfather clause.
does not appear to be. I can recheck with that, but the code enforcer and the city both have suggested that we need to remedy this. But they want to work with us. They realize that this was unexpected for us. And they want to waive any
So what
permit
is
fees
the-
or inspection fees or anything like
What
that.
is the remediation involved specifically?
So we will need to get some sort of like sound barrier, shield, fence, or wall, whatever you want to call, to put around the air conditioning units outside, and then some landscaping to soften the aesthetic of that barrier.
So how do we know if what will be enough? Because I mean, I know we.
We
can
will,
just-
I'll submit a plan. I mean, we're gonna get quotes on various shield walls, and then some landscaping, and then make a plan, submit it to the city, and they will tell us yes or no, or here's what you need to tweak. And then we'll eventually work out the final plan. Goal is for us to have, I think, plans in place by March, and then get the work done by May.
And there's no way they could allow July, so we could budget for it.
I can ask if that is
It's just-
possible.
And did they give you any estimate as far as could be ballpark?
No.
I would like to know if we can wait until July to actually perform the work, because that way we can budget for it. Because we already have a deficit in this year's budget.
Yeah, I can.
I
Absolutely.
don't know, you said
happy
that we're
to.
willing to be very accommodating
Right.
and perhaps
Well, I'm
say,
worried about the person that made the complaint.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's,
I think
that's 2 months for the person who made the complaint to have to deal with it.
I will say, as we were waiting, I was waiting to mention it until next month when we actually get to receive the money. But I got letters from Amy and Christina about the TIF district money. And the one TIF number 4 has grown a lot. So I think I'd mentioned previously, there was like 3 buildings or sections within the
Oh, yeah.
development, and so far they had only done one of them. So now the other 2 appear to be built and fairly well occupied. And so I think fiscal year 23, we got, I think it was like $20,000 for that. For this year, we are getting 41,000.
oh, that money could go a long way.
Yes,
I don't know how much
So-
you run the air conditioner in May or June, which is why I'm thinking July is when the hot months start. So,
Right. No, I know.
What do you
We'll
think?
see. But I am at least happy that we
How
have.
often do we run it in May and June?
Depends on the temperature. I mean, seriously, it could be very hot in April, and it might be running.
I mean, it
More
was,
people are gonna hear
it shouldn't have been, but it was hot the first week of October.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
it was hot,
It
very
was
hot.
Still 80 degrees.
End of September.
well,
So
how long have those houses been there?
This is a new tenant, or new occupant.
Okay.
we presume it is right, because we hadn't had
I
any
was
complaints
just gonna
before.
say,
But one of those houses sold this summer, so presumably it is the new tenant. We don't know that for certain, but
that
it
makes
stands to
sense.
reason.
Yeah,
I
maybe
can
a little
certainly
more.
inquire, but I at least feel better once, so we heard about this first, and then last week we got the letter about the TIF district money. So I feel better that that is an unexpected windfall, so at the very worst, that can pay for it.
I'm glad to hear that, yes.
So,
Fantastic.
You will keep us surprised, though.
yes,
Always
and
let us know about unexpected windfalls.
yes, I was waiting until we got the
Trying to bring
money
my
to let you know next
songs.
month. But I presume moving forward, you will want to see, like, we'll put together the quotes and
Yeah.
plan, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
presume you want to approve it. I don't know if it'll be over 25,000 or not, but since it wasn't part of the budget, I presume you want to approve it. So, okay. Just making sure.
Good. All right, moving on to page 21, we have a new training to do. I had to do this for something else, but not for this, not for the library.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if you had done it before. I think technically it might be, in some places trustees actually get money. You all are lovely volunteers. So I'm not sure if it, reading the law, it's a little hard to
remember that
tell.
We did it once a few years ago, but
But anyway, in the spirit of making all the staff do it, it is good for you all to take it as well and at least be aware of the issues. So through Paylocity, our payroll system, we've got a 1 hour Google training video. So I will pass that on to you all. That is okay. And then
We will eagerly await them.
so that'll just require, I will send you'll get an email when I create the account for you in Paylocity, and it will probably make you change your password immediately. And then once you've done that, then I will send out the link to the training video, and then you'll just have to log in Paylocity with it. Pretty much the only thing you'll have access to will be that training. So,
when do you anticipate sending it to us?
how about before the end of October, I will send you the account information, and then maybe the first week of November, I can send you the training. How does that?
I would probably be busy the first week of November, but the second week of November I'd be available.
That works. We will do that.
Heather, he's gonna send you at 3 o'clock in the morning, so you have to be up watching your phone.
More like because I'm not sure what kind of drinks I'll be on.
Oh, I think you should definitely do the
Do
training
it while you're on.
you're on.
I think so too.
That'll make it a lot more fun.
I could have it while you're in the hospital.
We are being recorded, I probably shouldn't.
Or I can just wait and send it all out, both things that second week of November. That works.
Yeah,
I think that sounds good.
We'll do that.
All right, any other comments about your report?
Well, the one question I had is what's going on both with the owl from Mexico and the, is it Pegasus out in the commons?
The Pegasus, I don't know. They've clearly leveled the fountain. It's gone.
Okay.
Put lawn and stuff out there, so I don't know what their actual final
The
line is.
city has put out on their Facebook, I think it was the city, I've seen pictures of the
Yeah.
woman working on it,
too.
and it's huge, and it's like a tall base, and it's looks kind of fun. I know it's in progress on the city website, they've shown parts of it.
And then for the owl, the Alebrijes art, they needed to have the lawyers work with the page, the Mexican Cultural Center page. I can't remember the exact name of the organization. And then work it out in IGA with them. So they are still doing that red tape before they get around to us. So it will still be a little while. So I will let you know when it comes our turn. So.
All right. Anything else? Oh, let's talk about the book fans challenge. So I brought this up with Jason because there was a front page article in the recent Daily Herald about the challenges that libraries are facing and all the book ban challenges and things like that. And I thought that we should probably just have a quick review of what our process is here and what, if any, is the board's role. Looks like, the board really wouldn't get involved unless there was some kind of a request and the person didn't like the response and then did some kind of an appeal. So, no, actually that would even, there's an appeal, whatever. Anyway.
Right, so
The
Paul
board wouldn't get
responds.
involved until the very end.
Right. You're the last resort. So it goes to Paul first. They don't like that. Then we bring it to me. We have a committee. We review it. And then I can make the final decision and let them know. And then if they're still not happy, then they can appeal and bring it to you.
So does anybody have Everybody have a chance to read through this? Anybody have any questions about it? I just want to make sure everybody's kind of clear about it, because you just never know when it's coming down the pipe.
I like that 3-line statement at the end. It's kind of like, this is our value system.
Oh.
You know, all the concerns you gave us and conversations had, we hope that the lessons learned.
Question, I mean, one thing that I feel about the book ban, because it seems like some of it is sort of this knee-jerk reaction. I wish there was a way to require whoever's requesting the book to be banned to make sure that they have read it first, so that you really have a discussion as to what is supposed to the objection is. But when some of it is just, you know, something based on the cover or on the summary or what they heard from somebody else, what the book was about, and then it's just, it's not a, I don't know, a good conversation. I don't know whether to say.
That question is on the form. They don't have to read it, but it's here. We will ask. You
Yeah.
have to say yes or no,
Or they could leave it blank.
or they can leave it blank or live. You know, those are the options.
I agree with you. It would be, I think, everything would be much more productive if anybody challenging anything were to have read the entire work. I think that is what happening a lot lately, is that they know about an aspect or two and are complaining about that without reading the whole thing and putting it in context and judging the work as a whole. And I think that's unfortunate that that is happening. So we can't force somebody to read it, unfortunately. I wish we could, but
Same time they may read the part where they object to, and then that's it, they're done. But, so I'm just trying to remember, what is the law though, where Governor Pritzker signed saying that you, if somebody does ban a book, then they don't get funding?
exactly. So we get per capita grant funding every year. So if we were to decide to ban a book, we would lose that funding. Or any other state related funding. So
Clarification, please. If the person suggesting the ban is not a district resident, we do not have to consider their request.
I feel as though that is not explicitly stated, but it is very well intended or implied, because
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
our policy keeps referring
To
to
district resident,
district resident. So
because I know there is there's groups of people doing this at all not necessarily our library, but other libraries, and they're not residents of the library.
I think
So
that
is
is,
there-
I think that is a thing we can pull and imply, but at some point we can maybe explicitly add that.
I think we should do it sooner rather than
Yeah.
later. We should make it very explicit.
I'm
It's-
happy
And
to
I
make that
wonder
happen before by
whether this
November, December.
policy should not be considered to put on our website as well.
I'm sorry?
Whether we should not consider this policy being predominant on our website as well about banned books.
Oh, well, I mean, it's on our policy page.
I know, but I don't know how many people look there.
True.
Maybe that.
Although I don't
should be
necessarily
on the
wanna-
form.
What was that?
I said maybe the link should be on the form that they have to fill out. Is it? I don't know. I didn't check.
So on our, no, so on our policy page, the link to this policy opens up the PDF, which is the policy portion in this form. So it is not a,
You can't do it online, though. You have to print it, scan it.
Okay. So just to reiterate, if a resident or district member does approach a board member about this concern, the first thing that we should do is redirect them to file. Thank you for that. Right?
I mean, I think you are welcome to, stress that we believe in intellectual freedom. And while we can certainly consider, collection appropriateness, we believe in having a diverse collection with lots of viewpoints, and that it is parental and individual responsibility for monitoring what it is they're reading, and not our done.
Right.
So, and then refer them.
On the form, at the little statement at the top of the form, This form is used by the library to gather information from any district resident who wishes to request consideration on a resource. So this is for residents.
That's true, right there, that's a.
Right, but I just wanted to make sure we
Yeah.
were not going to entertain.
And I think that's really good too.
I agree, because if they're not a
Perhaps
resident.
we should retitle it to request for resident reconsideration of library material. So
I mean,
it
I'm
says it
happy to
right
make
in
it-
the title.
I'm happy to make it as explicit as possible, so that there's no doubt.
Is there any way instead of questioning, just put you must be a resident of the Warrenville Public Library District?
Yeah, I'll figure out a way
Well,
to edit
that
it.
could go, are you a member, that could be a statement underneath the question, are you a resident?
Well, there is that.
Yes,
Somewhere.
and I'm saying to Heather's point,
Oh.
it could go right under there, request will only be considered from members of the library.
Maybe they should have to have a library card.
So that's why I want to draw the distinction between a district's residents. They don't necessarily have to have a library card. When we use the word member, we think of them as having a card. And I don't think from other things I've read, that someone necessarily has to have a library card in that, whether it's a district or a city library to bring about, the challenges.
Right, because they are paying this.
Yeah.
Right,
Well, because, I mean, too, when it has organization of group, if you have, so, I don't know, Boy Scouts, group of women voters, if they all decide to, versus not being a resident just because they're a member of the group.
All right, I will update that and bring it to you next month or December.
Could I point out some good news on this topic?
Excellent.
It's a window to our World Hero fan book. So we did put up a display on Facebook of our different, images of our different fan book displays around the library. And I will tell you, it was one of our most liked posts that we have had in a very, very, very long time. And then it generated a lot more comments than most of our posts got. All of them positive, maybe one was a little bit of a phishing request, but so overall, I think that our certainly our Facebook followers may or may not have a library card, and you don't even know where they live, but they were very receptive to this post.
That is great news, Kim.
yes.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
So I did have a question. This was something that happened years ago when I went to a bookstore. There was a biography that came out of a controversial figure, and we had it prominently displayed in front of the store. But we didn't realize it till after we went to straighten up that somebody had taken like a pin or something, and I don't know how they did it, managed to not only the book jacket, but all the way through the book cover. So that it was to the point, it was damaged, we had to send they literally went through all the books and we had to send them back. I didn't know if there was ever an issue where if it was, you could say instead of requesting a banned book, they just went out straight out and damaged it. So then you'd have to remove it in order to replace it or whatever.
I mean, that's just more of a procedural thing. Then if it's damaged enough that we need to withdraw it, then we evaluate whether we need to replace it if it was popular enough. And if so, then we'll repurchase it and re-add it to the collection. So, but that is certainly a strategy that some folks out there unfortunately have had, either to damage the books or check them out, never to
Never
return them
return,
because they don't want anybody else to have them, which is a very unfortunate approach. So, but
What I was just gonna say, when that happens, it just triggers a purchase request if there's demand for it. By them doing that, they're defeating their own purpose.
Right.
Because it's just gonna trigger a purchase request, they're gonna buy a new one, then get rid of it, they'll buy another one again. So it's.
Other than it creates just a delay, obviously, that
It's right.
So if a book is not returned, you do know that because you are having an automatic purchase request?
No, that's, the demand goes up, for, what is it, 5?
So we have a couple of different reports.
You do have a report.
We have the host report, so if there's a bunch of votes on it, or if there's a bunch of votes for the consortium. We also get missing reports as well, person is going to check out must, or just missing out the show.
So if someone does check a book out and they have it for 30, 60, 90 days, you have an aged checkout report.
Correct.
Great.
All right,
Hopefully it won't happen.
Again,
but good to be prepared.
Yes, indeed it is.
We're gonna move on to the director or department head reports. Does anybody have any specific comments about any of the particular departments?
purple wall? Is that so you feel like you're in a
Did you
purple
know about
haze?
this or not? That's my question. I want a tour.
It was just, I was looking at a gray wall and I wanted, I've been in other folks' offices and I liked all the colors, so I wanted more colors. So now I have a blue wall and a purple wall. That's lovely.
As long as you're happy.
I
We do want you to stay, so.
I have a question for Kathy. I read that you created a timeline for the logo redesign project. What is the estimated completion date in your mind for the new logo being rolled out and utilized?
So,
And
the
maybe
end
it's,
date depends on some things that happen throughout the process. It could be as early as, say, mid to late February when we will.
of next year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Hold on, hang on. So
I just wanna make sure it wasn't 10 years.
Or it might be tied in with National Library Week in April. Or it could slide to like, say, mid-May when we roll out with our June read.
And all of that is beyond acceptable. I figured it was gonna be longer than that.
No, I think once we really get into it, things will move fairly quickly. So there will be probably a big rollout phase with some of our bigger publicity, but we could be working for months then for all of the little pieces to come together. Our logo appears on.
Understood, because you won't catch them all until you walk by something.
Exactly.
Where are we posting this library parking only signs that you generated?
Oh,
Or
so-
David did?
So those go out, the one part you're referring to happened in September with,
Arts and
Art on the Prairie Day, where, we just want to remind people that that is the library.
Okay, so it's for downstairs, not necessarily.
No,
for-
this is not, no, we never, this is up here in our library parking is where staff will park on those days. If they can get access here. A lot depends on
Yeah,
when
they
staff
close
goes to
down.
work but generally put those up for, the bigger, city or district events that are going on.
Okay. And my last question, maybe I'll better at answering it. Home delivery, we have specified dates for home delivery, or how does, I know we do it, but I'm not familiar with how the program.
It's typically the first Saturday of the month.
Okay.
Falls on the.
Very good. I didn't know there was an established specific date.
Yeah, the calendar, you can see it's on the-
Well, I will look for
We
that.
need to set the plans for next year soon.
Excellent.
Okay.
My last thing is for Kathy again, sorry. Safety Committee really seems to be delving into a lot of topics, and I'm very pleased to hear that, to read the summary. Do you have a list of these things, or are you just generating them as you see them? Is there some reference point you have for things the Safety Committee will address?
Yes, so at the beginning of safety committee formation, the first few sessions were about establishing what we thought should be part of safety committee. We came up with 12, 15 topics, and we played around with Vanessa's a little bit, and then we started divvying up some of those topics for various members of the committee to
Well,
research and
topic that was referenced this month. That's a pretty deep dive with who knows how to turn off some of these valves in the building, and I was very impressed with that. Especially since you don't have a full-time custodian on site, all the opening hours. I think that was great. Thank you. I promise I'm done.
Those are all very insightful questions. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, well, I do have one more for Duncan.
Keep going.
Digital microscope. Is that for a specific employee, an ADA?
Part of the kids.
Okay, I just wondered if it was an ADA accommodation or whether, not necessarily for an employee, but for our members, so. Thank you. And now I really am done, I promise.
All right. Any other trustee questions for our managers?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for great work again. Okay. I'm going to move on to the president's report, and that is just that. Next month, we are going to meet at 7 p.m. No, at 6:30 for the decennial meeting.
No, not
No, that's February.
February.
You were testing us, right?
I was checking to see if you were paying attention. Clearly, I was not. No, you're right. I put it in February. I didn't put it. So that's all. Treasurer's report. Looks like we got reimbursed for the concert on the Commons. So yay. Okay. Anything else to talk about treasurer wise?
No, we'll officially, hopefully, once we receive the TIF money,
Yeah.
add it to the treasurer's report next month.
All right.
So hopefully we can-
And secretary, got anything?
Everything looks good.
All right. All right. Any trustee comments?
Yes, I need to advise I will not be present for the November meeting. And I will also be not present for the January meeting.
I too will not be present for the January.
And I will reconfirm that with you, Jason, when the packets come out, but I thought I'd give everybody a heads up.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if I'll be here for the November meeting, but I'll keep you informed as things progress.
Okay.
Is there a December meeting or is there?
Yes, it's the second week.
Yes. I believe
Yeah,
that
the
is.
December meeting was changed to
13th.
December 13th. And that's on the president's report. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. One second. All right. Any other items for information or discussion? No, all right, then I have the final motion.
Okay, Connie, you did it.
I will be adjourned.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Schmidt and seconded by trustee Pika. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Excellent. Thank you.
At 7:48.